So hello everyone and welcome to our virtual Discovery Day, Type 1 Reset, the first of our series of events this year. I'm so glad to see you all coming and talking in the chat. It's brilliant. My name is Adele and I am the Community Content and Information Lead here at JDRF. As well as being part of the amazing community engagement team, I am also mum to a Type 1 teen. Managing Type 1 diabetes can be a challenge and overwhelming at times, but we are here to help with this online event, Type 1 Reset. We know there is a lot to consider when managing Type 1 diabetes: exercising, carb counting, eating a healthy and balanced diet, and deciding which Type 1 technology to use. Things can seem overwhelming for newly diagnosed, and equally things can seem overly complicated for those who have Type 1 diabetes and have had for many years. We want to say you're not alone. Tonight, we will learn how you can take small steps to spend more time in target range and get some hints and tips on slight changes to help with your diabetes care. As well as our three amazing speakers, Sonja, Pete, and Tom, you will hear from some of our tech partners, Liquide, Abbott, Dexcom, Medtrum, Omnipod, and Insulet, and learn about the technology and devices currently available. There will be an opportunity to ask them questions through the session via our Q&A feature. So just a bit of housekeeping. Our evening is hosted via Zoom. To help prevent technical difficulties, we recommend keeping other internet use to a minimum. Your camera and microphone will be automatically turned off, so we can't see or hear you, but feel free to use the chat feature and the Q&As to get involved. My colleague Chris will be looking after the chat function, so if you want to say hello to him, he's there. Keep an eye on updates from him during the night. Also feel free to drop in to chat and say hello and let us know where you're watching from. Our speakers and tech partners will be available to ask questions to directly via our Q&A feature. Just put their names in brackets before the question for them. So for example, if you wanted to ask Tom a question, put his name in brackets, then ask your question. For example, how's the weather this evening? Please be aware that this virtual will be recorded and can be accessed also after tonight. And also a reminder that if you're considering changing any of your diabetes management as a result of the presentations from our speakers or tech partners today, please do discuss this with your diabetes team. So we have a bit of a background on JDRF before we start this evening. We are a Type 1 diabetes research charity funding research to help treat and one day cure Type 1. As well as research, we support people and their families living with Type 1 through our fantastic range of resources and events like this one this evening. We want to thank our speakers for coming along tonight and hope you will enjoy our evening as much as we enjoy creating it. Massive thanks to our panelists and our partners for making this virtual evening possible. So we will now have a quick look at our agenda. We have three speakers tonight, Sonja, Pete, and Tom, as well as presentations from our tech partners. Please note that our comfort break will be at approximately 8:15 for 10 minutes, and our evening will finish at approximately 8:45, give or take. Depends how much everybody talks. So I think it's time now to kick off our evening. So we have an update from our very own Conor McKeever, who is our Research Communications Manager here at JDRF, and he will be speaking about our latest research progress.
Hi, I'm Conor. I'm the Research Communications Manager at JDRF. It's my job to translate the research that we fund into something a little bit more understandable for everyone. So today I'm going to give a brief overview of the research that we fund at JDRF, and then afterwards I'll share a website link that you can read more about it. So first, a quick overview. JDRF is the world's leading type 1 diabetes research charity. Since we were founded in the 1970s, we funded more than £2 billion worth of research into type 1. In fact, we fund the best research wherever it takes place in the world. As you are no doubt aware, type 1 is a complex condition and there isn't an easy answer to treating or curing it. So that's why right now we're supporting around 400 research projects around the world and more than 50 clinical trials. In the UK alone, we're currently funding or co-funding more than 30 research projects. And in fact, because of the high quality of UK research, JDRF globally spends more on research here than we raise. And with all of this research, we're improving the lives of people with type 1 until we find a cure. Now, obviously, with just 10 minutes, I'm not planning to talk about all 400 research projects, don't worry. So I've just picked 2 areas that I think are the most interesting and relevant to today. If you'd like to find out more, you can always check out our website. And as I say, I'll give you the link at the end. So this first bit is all about our research to replace the lost beta cells so you can make your own insulin again. But before I get into those details, I just wanted to take a step back and explain why we need to do this. So the beta cells are the cells in your pancreas to make insulin. Insulin is what allows the glucose from your food to move from your blood and into your cells to give you the energy you need to do everything. But in type 1, the immune system comes along and mistakenly kills these beta cells, which means you can't make any insulin and the glucose stays in your blood. So the idea behind encapsulation is that you replace these lost cells and you put them inside a protective coating that keeps them safe from the immune system so they can produce insulin, and then once again you can move the glucose out of your blood and into your cells. In that way, it's a little bit like a shark cage, at least I think of it like that. So the beta cells are like the scientists here, they're able to get their work done, but they're all protected from the sharks or the immune system that's circling all around them. So there's 2 pieces to this puzzle. You've got to grow enough cells for this treatment to be available for everybody who wants and needs it. And you've also got to find a way to keep those cells protected from the immune system. So for the first part, we fund researchers around the world to find a way to pretty much grow those beta cells in the lab. One of these researchers, Professor Doug Melton, he's had a lot of success in growing thousands of these beta cells from stem cells. So you might have heard about stem cells. They're basically like immature cells that can be prompted and told to turn any cell into any cell in the body. So this is what they look like in reality. And his research is now forming the basis of a small early stage clinical trial in the US in people who have really bad, really debilitating hypos, to see if having these cells can help them manage their type 1 more effectively than insulin alone. Now, once you've found a way to grow yourself some beta cells, the other piece of the puzzle is surrounding them with a protective material. And there's lots of ways of doing this. So here I'm just going to look at a couple. At the top of the screen, we've got microencapsulation, with micro meaning really small, like in microscope. So here the researchers are creating tiny little bubbles to put these cells in. And because scientists are endlessly creative, in this case, the bubbles are actually made from a chemical you can find in seaweed. So you put your cells into these little bubbles, and once they're implanted, the theory is then they can make insulin safe from the immune system. This is still quite early stage work, so scientists are still working out the best coating, where it's best to put the cells, all that sort of stuff. But it's a really promising route to something that could essentially free you from insulin injections for months or years at a time. Another way to do this is to think a bit bigger. So rather than fiddling around with lots of individual cells, you put them all together in one big device. So this is what we supported this company at the bottom here to do. They're called ViaCyte. And they're developing a capsule that's about the size of a credit card, so not massive really, that could be filled up with these lab-grown beta cells. And as before, this capsule allows all the nutrients to get to the cells, all the blood, all the oxygen, all that sort of stuff, and it allows the insulin out, but it still stops the immune system from getting in and attacking the precious cargo that's inside. This works actually a little bit further ahead. So it's already being tested in clinical trials in the US, and initial results are promising. They already show the capsule is safe. So now it's a case of kind of making sure that the cells inside can grow and work and do all the stuff they're meant to. Up next, I'm going to talk a little bit about how immunotherapy work, which is another vital part of curing type 1. It basically aims to stop the immune attack at the very heart of the condition. So to explain what immunotherapy is, if we go back to this diagram, immunotherapy would remove the immune system attack, so the beta cells survive, and they can make insulin, and glucose can move properly into our cells. So how are we doing this? Well, we're funding scientists all around the world to basically retrain the immune system. So in type 1, a key cell that's involved in this immune attack is called a T cell. Normally, these are the good guys. They help you fight infections, they stop you getting cancer, all that sort of stuff, really important. But in type 1, some of these cells mistakenly launch an attack on your beta cells and they kill them. So that's why we have researchers working on clinical trials of an immunotherapy called ustekinumab. So researchers think that this may be able to dampen down the immune response, a little bit like this fire hydrant, making the cells go blue. So the drug works by essentially stopping the attack signals that are being sent to these T cells, so they're no longer in attack mode and they don't go on and kill your beta cells. And this is being tested here in the UK and in Canada as well. Now, ustekinumab isn't the only immunotherapy out there. These here are just a few of the immunotherapy trials being done here in the UK, and there's others still to launch, thanks to the Type 1 Diabetes UK Immunotherapy Consortium, which is a bit of a mouthful, but we fund it alongside Diabetes UK. And it essentially brings together 9 universities and 24 research centres across the country to improve clinical trials of immunotherapies for type 1, so that basically we can find the one that works faster. And you can find out more about these trials, including how to take part on our website here with that link. Most of these are currently being tested in people who are newly diagnosed, because it's a lot easier to measure the impact if you've still got some beta cells left, because you can see, oh, look, you've got some more insulin. But if these treatments turn out to be promising, then they could also form part of a cure, because if you can combine one of these immunotherapies with a way to replace the beta cells, then you've essentially got a cure. So it's all to play for there. It's really important for everybody, whether you've had type 1 for many years or whether you're newly diagnosed. Lastly, I just wanted to talk about the big research news we shared just last month, the Steve Morgan Foundation Grand Challenge. So the Steve Morgan Foundation Grand Challenge is basically a game-changing partnership between JDRF, Diabetes UK and the Steve Morgan Foundation. Steve Morgan and his wife Sally have been supporting JDRF for many years after their son Hugo was diagnosed with type 1 at the age of 7. Now they've really put their money where their mouths are, and they've pledged £50 million over the next 5 years to give a massive boost to type 1 diabetes research. This is the biggest single donation ever to UK diabetes research, and it means that JDRF and Diabetes UK will be teaming up to fund all kinds of groundbreaking research right here in the UK that will bring us closer than ever to the cures and the treatments that we all want. How will we decide where the money goes? Well, we worked with leading scientists and people with type 1 to come up with 3 key areas that we felt had the most potential to make a big difference. So these are treatments to replace or rescue insulin-making cells in the pancreas, so that's like encapsulation. Treatments to stop the immune attack that destroys the cells, which is like immunotherapy. Both of those I've talked about today. And next generation insulins, which might include ones that respond to changing blood glucose levels, or they might work much faster. That's still quite a new area, that one. Crucially, all of this money is committed to new research in these 3 areas, and it must come on top of our existing £14 million of research commitments. So it means that all your support is still completely vital to keep everything that we're already funding still going, including all of the projects that I've already mentioned, because they already exist. And because it's focused on those 3 topics, we still need your support for all our other research areas, like combating hypos. So this funding basically means that we can do even more research on top of all the work that everybody out there is already so generously supporting. And we'll be asking researchers to apply for this funding later in the year, once we've got everything set up, because you can imagine this is quite a big undertaking for reviewing their applications. So absolutely watch this space, and we'll be sharing news as we get it with all the exciting ideas that the scientists are coming up with. And that's it for me. Thank you everybody for listening. If you want any more information, this is the web address I've been promising you. You should be able to find plenty more information there. So thank you very much.
So great to hear all that information from Connor. I never get tired of hearing about research that's happening. So let's get on to our next presentation. So it's from Susie Reid from Abbott, who will speak about Freestyle Libre Flash Glucose Monitoring System. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, so I hope you can see my screen all right. I'm Susie, and I just want to tell you a little bit more about the Freestyle Libre 2 system, which some of you may know as flash glucose monitoring. And with the new Freestyle Libre 2 system, you now have optional alarms, and of course still with no finger pricks. So Freestyle Libre 2 system is a small discrete sensor that's very easy to apply, and it can be worn up to 14 days, and that includes while you're bathing, swimming and exercising. With a very simple, painless 1-second scan, you will very simply see your glucose readings. You'll also see a trend arrow that tells you the direction and the rate of change of your current glucose level. And you also have the benefit of an 8-hour history, which shows you what's been happening to your glucose levels over the last 8 hours. As well as this, the Freestyle Libre system has an app which gives you very easy to understand glucose reports that will provide you with some really good visual summaries of your daily glucose patterns. And of course, you can scan at any time of day or night, and even through your clothing. So if we have a little look at the sensor itself, it's a sterile, very thin and flexible measuring filament that's inserted under the skin to continuously measure the glucose in the interstitial fluid. Glucose readings are captured every minute throughout the day and night. And as I've already said, it's very easy to set up. Very little patient training is required. And importantly, we now have the option for you to set your own glucose alarms to alert you if your glucose levels are going high or low. So just to show you a little bit about the reports are very easy to access on the mobile phone app. You can and will quickly and easily provide you with some of the important answers that you may have been looking for to understand a little bit more about your glucose levels. If you want to know a little bit more about your glucose variability, there is a report to show you how glucose is fluctuating on average throughout the day, and also variability from one day to the next. You can also very quickly look at what your current target time in range is through another report. And if you want to see average glucose over periods of time, you can see that as well. Okay, thank you very much. If you've got any questions, please put them in the Q&A and I'll be very happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Susie, for that. And again, if you have any questions, just pop them in the Q&A. We have our first speaker of the night now. It is Sonja, who is a specialist diabetes dietitian and also an insulin pump and DAFNE educator. She will talk about how everyone's diabetes journey is different, but being able to motivate and support someone along the way is so rewarding. Thank you.
Welcome everyone to the next session called Back to Basics. This ties in with the theme of Control Alt Delete, whether you're starting over from scratch and needing a big refresh or just a little touching up. My name is Sonja Slegtenhorst. I'm a specialist diabetes dietitian. I mostly work within the insulin pump clinic, I'm a DAFNE educator, and a lot of wards. I work at Addenbrooke's Hospital, which is now known as the Cambridge University NHS Foundation Trust. Reflecting on your own diabetes, which landscape rings true with you? Does your glucose control look a little bit more like the Himalayas? A lot of peaks and troughs and a lot of variability, and therefore you're logging in today to find out how you could get the calmer rolling green hills. So we hope that by addressing the basics, that this will lead to an improvement in your glucose control, irrespective of whether you're on injection therapy, insulin pump therapy, or insulin pump and control algorithm therapy. All of these therapies need the basics to be as good as it can be to get the best results. Even people that might be on the most advanced technologies of the insulin pumps with continuous glucose monitors and the control algorithms, if you don't have the basics right, then even then they can't achieve the outcomes that they would hope for. So it's just today a little bit about looking at realistic expectations, going back to the basics, looking at what might affect post-meal glucose control, so timing of boluses, carb counting, then looking at your background insulin, making sure you've got healthy injection sites. Sometimes you have to scrap everything and start from afresh, and getting the support that you need, but never forgetting that there's all these lovely advancing technologies that you might be able to access. So just setting realistic expectations and goals. It's so helpful to explore what are your challenges at the moment with your diabetes control. Is life too busy? Have you got an extreme fear of hyperglycemia and therefore trying to achieve optimized control is tricky for you? You know, would you benefit from flash glucose monitoring or continuous glucose monitoring to not feel that fear when things are dipping because you know where you're at? Are you struggling doing a lot more exercise and that's problematic? Is your engagement not great at the moment? You know, is there stresses in your life that, you know, if you could speak to someone like a psychology wellbeing service, whether this would actually help manage that and therefore diabetes can become more of a priority and more manageable. So our psychology wellbeing service is key and integrated into our department, and we've seen some great successes with it. So it's very much about thinking, where am I at now? Choosing one goal that you feel like be invaluable to sort out and focusing on that rather than trying to fix everything in one. Support is key. A second pair of eyes may be all that you need. Sometimes you might feel quite isolated, maybe at home, that there's nobody else that you could really say, what do you think of these values? What could I do? So please, please, please don't wait until your annual review appointments. Please contact your team and say, can I have more frequent telephone calls? Could I, speak to you every second week, once a month? Would you mind looking at my uploads if I send them over? I'm really struggling emotionally and mentally with things that are going on in my life. Could I kindly have a referral to the psychology wellbeing team? If you're struggling to upload data from your meters, and then contact the pump teams or contact your team to just find out what they can do for you, or getting on other courses that might be beneficial to you. So looking at what causes the post-meal rise or glucose excursions. So key things that we would be looking at if you came in for consultation, we would be saying, are you giving your bolus before, during, or after eating? If you're doing a lot after or during, can you pre-bolus? This is with the exception of possibly gastroparesis, because that can throw more tricks in. But know your insulin action times so that you can have a better feel for what insulin is working at the time, and that will hopefully make it a bit clearer too. If your carb counting's right and your bolusing is right, do you need to maybe consider splitting your meal? Are you noticing a big mismatch of insulin absorption and when you're giving, when you're eating? So for people way down the way, or have had chronic high glucose, where the gastroparesis is starting to feature and whether you need to have this checked out. Accuracy of carb counting, which I'll go into in a little bit more detail. Is my carb ratio right? Well, until you get the timing of the insulin and the accuracy of the carb counting right, it's quite difficult to know whether that carb ratio is right. So if you can nail the previous two, then we can suss out that next one. Carb load. So we tend to see if people have quite large portions of carbs and then having to match in much chunkier amounts of insulin, that sometimes the predictability of how that insulin is absorbed leads to a more unpredictable glucose profile. So we would encourage you, if you are sort of going down that way with the larger carbohydrate amounts, that maybe you consider splitting your insulin, which again you can discuss with your diabetes team who can help you with that. Glycemic index. So this is very much looking at the absorption, how quickly or slowly foods are absorbed. If your diet is predominantly very sugary, very processed, and you're seeing quite sharp rises post meals, and you know you've got your carb ratio and timing right, is there any value in considering slower release carbohydrates? There's a lot of information on the internet, and I'm sure your diabetes team should help to clarify these points too. Just a little diagram on the effect of bolusing late. So you can see this wiggly line is the blood glucose levels. You can see where the meal started. So somebody started eating, but they've decided to give their insulin a little bit later down the line. And what happened at the end is a delayed hypo. So we know ideally that if the insulin and the meal are, the insulin's given before the meal, so it gets time to kick in, you then have your meal, then they sort of follow the same trajectory, and you see the better glucose profile later. With the exception, and that is for example, Novorapid, Humalog, and Apidra, your quick-acting insulins, with the exception of Fiasp or Lunajev, which have much quicker insulin actions and can be given just before the meal. So if you're always struggling to get your insulin in 10, 15 minutes before, could you ask to be changed onto an insulin that has a faster insulin action time, so you can still achieve a better post-meal response? We know that, for example, if you are delaying your insulin and it's not matching with the carbs, you get that hypo. People treat it, often the blood sugars overshoot, particularly if you have a fear of hypoglycemia. So then you land up on this roller coaster again of treating, untreating. Becomes a tricky scenario. Very valuable is getting accurate carb counting. People may have been in the game for a long time and they're like, oh, I know how to estimate carbs, I'm a pro at it. But often you generally, from studies, they found that people actually underestimate compared to the actual amounts. So if you were looking at these carb amounts now, what would you estimate for the lasagna and the penne pasta? Now my question is, how far off are you with those estimations? When every few grams that you underestimate for a meal will lead to a greater and greater glucose rise. We really encourage you, if you've been a long time in the game, to go back and check labels, weigh portions, if the only way to estimate is what you can do, then making sure that you're using tools that can help you with that. So using your carbs and cows, MyFitnessPal, invaluable to both those that are new to the game and further down the line, is making use of DAFNE as fabulous for teaching you carb counting, how you can apply it to snacks and eating out and all that. Even if you're further down the line, a refresher can't hurt. We hold a lot of online carb counting workshops, so seeing if you can tap into something locally. We often find a telltale sign if somebody comes into clinic and they're on an insulin pump, if somebody's estimating is whether they're putting rounding up or down for their amounts rather than putting accurate amounts in. Insulin pumpers that have got their carb ratios and their timing incorrect can then consider multi-wave or dual wave options for more complex meals. And now there's also incorporating fat and protein from the latest DAFNE guidelines. Background insulin testing is also quite valuable. If your picture is completely muddied and you want to tease out whether it's the quick acting or background insulin that's affecting you, you could always do background insulin testing, which is whereby you omit, for example, a lunch meal. So you skip the meal, you don't give any quick acting for it, as long as you're falling within the basal testing parameters that your team can advise you on. Always give your background insulin, never omit this. And then measure your blood sugars over the next few hours and see how much is changing up and down. Based on that, we can then advise on adjustments to your background insulin. So you could do that during the daytime for your daytime insulin, and overnight we might say have a simple meal, you can carb count easily, no snacks in the evening, measure your blood sugars and 3 a.m. and waking and see what's going on. For pump therapy, sometimes when people are tinkering a lot and trying to fix things, they keep adding and adding and adding basal rates in, but it does take a while for insulin to sort of stabilize and to see the true picture. So often what we do is we consolidate, if there's loads of basal, consolidate basal rates, and then sometimes you can see a better response. Insulin. Sometimes we have to go complete Ctrl Alt Delete. So, you know, for example, if somebody came in on insulin pump therapy and it was a completely muddy picture that even we couldn't unpick, we might say, let's just start from scratch. We could either do this on injection therapy, look at the total daily dose, distributed equally between your quick acting boluses and your background insulin, and start from there. It's actually been quite a rewarding and positive experience for a lot of our patients, because though they might come in feeling quite disheartened, it's a good way just to freshen things up and get things back on. Injection sites, it's so invaluable to have fresh injection sites, healthy injection sites for good absorption of your insulin. It prevents big peaks and troughs because the insulin is absorbing well and it's not giving you any surprises later down the line when it's maybe absorbing later if it's not absorbing well. Make sure your sites are checked, either good site checking by yourself if somebody is showing you how to do it. There's good online videos to show you, or make sure your team are getting it in at least at annual review or even more frequent if needed. For those on insulin pumps, key, make sure you're changing your infusion sets as regularly as your team and the company suggest, not leaving them in longer and longer, because then you do tend to see patterns of rising blood glucose levels as the insulin is not absorbing as well and the sites are getting tired. Advancing technology, we love a bit of a technology. I just want to emphasize, please don't ever discount yourself from technology. There's the most amazing technology that's coming about in the UK. And can really be a game changer for someone. So if you've tried many things before, say an injection therapy or pump therapy, and things maybe aren't working for you, there are other solutions. So there's flash glucose monitoring, there's continuous glucose monitoring, there's smart pens available for if you need to log doses or forget to log doses. There's insulin pump therapy. There's just such a wide range. And by the sounds of it, there's another emerging smart pen that's coming around, which will log your doses. You can calculate boluses of it, and by the sounds of it, might even have some integration with continuous glucose monitoring. So for somebody who has a lot of hyper unawareness, has had severe hypos, fear of hypoglycemia, do ask your team about the continuous glucose monitoring, flash glucose monitoring. My understanding is now that there's been new guidance on making this more accessible to people with diabetes. So do contact your team and see what's available at the moment. So as I was saying, you know, if you're not familiar or don't know whether you qualify for these advancing technologies, most of the guidance and criteria are available online. So you go to NICE, which has guidelines on pump therapy. The Diabetes Technology Network is fabulous for knowing about the latest technologies, guidance. Yeah, it's really helpful. Local authority guidance is usually available online. A lot of the pump continuous glucose monitoring companies will have information on their websites, and speak to your team and see what they have to say. And the other thing I would encourage is get involved in research, sign up, because there's such fabulous opportunities to get involved in studies whereby you can try out new insulin pumps, new continuous glucose sensors. I think our patients have found it quite valuable. We're quite a big research hospital, and people have had opportunity to try some really cutting edge new stuff that's out, which has been quite valuable to a lot of people. So just in summary, set yourself realistic expectations. Don't try and fix everything if the picture is muddy. Try and set one goal. What would you like to achieve? That's very important to you. Try and optimize your post-meal glucose control. Like I said, irrespective of what treatment you're on, unless the basics are there, even being on the most advanced technology, you won't see the result that you'd hope for. Go back to basics on background insulin testing. Try and eliminate which insulin is which that's causing a bit of problems for you. Advancing technologies, never discount yourself from technology. There's enough support. Most technology is now quite user-friendly. Ask your team, see what they can offer. Get in support. If you're finding life challenging, try and link in with some psychology and well-being services, and get involved in research so you can access everything that's cutting edge and that's new on the market. Yeah, it's just a slide summarizing some invaluable websites. You know, there's loads of others, but just some that came to my head at the time.
Thanks so much for that presentation, Sonja. It was great, and there were so many great tips. It was brilliant. Really enjoyed it. So next we will hear from Aoibhinn Higgins from Liquide, who will talk about the tandem T-Slim pump system. Thank you very much, Aoibhinn.
Thank you. Okay, hopefully everyone can see my screen. Thanks for inviting me on here today. My name is Aoibhinn Higgins and I work with Liquide Healthcare. So I'm the diabetes account manager for Tandem. I'm actually based in Ireland, but part of the wider UK and Ireland team. We're currently launching Tandem T-Slim in Ireland right now. So it's very exciting times. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of the pump today, and certainly we'll be around if you have any further questions. So the Tandem T-Slim is manufactured in the US in San Diego by Tandem. Can be used as a standalone pump or in conjunction with the Dexcom CGM. And we have two technologies. We have the basal IQ and the control IQ, which is the closed loop technology. So our key features of the pump is the fact that it's a rechargeable battery. So it's a lithium polymer battery inside the Tandem T-Slim. It's a color touchscreen, and there is built-in Bluetooth for future use of future apps. There's remote feature upgrades, which is very like a smartphone, so like an iOS upgrade on your Apple phone. Once an upgrade is available, patients will get a link, and then they can download it through a data cable to their pump. So patient is always up to date with the latest technology. So we have a range of infusion sets, which we hope to expand upon later this year. The pump itself is watertight, and we have a patient-focused 24-hour support team based in the UK. The pump itself is quite small. It fits in the palm of my hand. It's the footprint of a credit card, and it weighs 113 grams. The cartridge design itself is innovative, and it holds up to 300 units of insulin. The cartridge has a micro delivery system. You can see, hopefully you can see me here on the camera. It's a pulse system that moves back and forward, and that means that the 300 units of insulin that is held in the vacuum bag is safely tucked away from the infusion set. Okay. So the basal IQ technology, that helps reduce lows. It's a predictive low glucose suspend, and it works with the Dexcom CGM, and it's always predicting 30 minutes ahead. So it will suspend the insulin if the patient is expected to drop below 4.4, or if the CGM falls below 3.9 in real time. The Control IQ technology, this is the advanced hybrid closed loop technology, and that's designed to help increase time and range between 3.9 and 10. Again, working with the Dexcom, predicting 30 minutes ahead and adjusting the insulin accordingly. So the icons on the display in the pump, and basically those icons will actually say exactly what's happening at the time, whether the insulin is being increased or decreased. And that's all done by the little gray diamonds, and I can share this with you in the chat. We call them the Control IQ flags, and that means when a patient looks at the screen, the color touch screen, it's very easy to see what's happening within the pump. Okay, I'll just finish with this slide, if that's okay, Del. The T simulator, if you wanted to have a look at the pump, you can look at the T simulator. I can share this again in the chat, where we have a QR code and you can download it. The simulator can be downloaded to any phone free of charge, and you can have a look and see if you like how the Control IQ operates. You can stimulate it on your phone. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Aoibhinn. I'm sorry for jumping back on the screen. I didn't even know I did it. Sorry.
No, I thought maybe I was going over time. So.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
We will go now to our second speaker of the night, who is Pete Davies. He's a retired teacher and was diagnosed at age 2 in 1956. So he will share his 65 years experience. I hope you don't mind me saying the 65 years, Pete. He will share his experience with type 1 diabetes and how advancements in technology help him live well and manage his type 1. Thank you, Pete.
Well, it's a terrific honour to be invited to come speak on this. It really is fantastic. Thanks very much. And the title I've given this presentation, hang on, it's not working. I don't know what's gone wrong. It's not moving on.
Peaches, do you have another go, sure? And we're here in the background anyway.
Let's try again.
Yeah.
That's better. Right, I've given it that title because that's what I hope I offer to lots of people by the end of this. So I was born a long time ago, October 1954 in Eldoret in Kenya. And that's a photograph of me there with my lovely mum when I really wasn't very well. I was actually diagnosed in 28th of November 1956, so just over 65 years ago. I was incredibly lucky. If you don't know of this guy, Dr. R.D. Lawrence, I was incredibly lucky to be put under his care. He almost died from type 1 diabetes in 1919, 1920, just before insulin came about. And he went off to Florence because he didn't want his family to see him withering away, literally. And he received this, he was training at King's College Hospital, and he got this from a colleague at King's saying, come back quick, it works. And he drove back, or he got a driver to drive back, although the driver refused to drive through Paris. And so Lawrence had to drive the car with blood sugar up in the sky. And he got back to London, and it saved his life. And it's a particular honour that I was awarded the 60-year Lawrence Medal. Meant a great deal to me. But I've got this letter. He was a lovely man. The way he spoke to people. Little Peter Davies, and he always called children with diabetes special children. A nice terminology. But I love what he says at the end here. He needs a doctor's check probably once a month, and occasional blood sugar tests. Here are we take it for granted several times a day, any old time. Think how things have changed. So has much changed since 1956? Oh yes, my goodness. That's the first kit I used to use. That's the container. It was filled with, believe it or not, methylated spirit, not even surgical spirit back then. And that was it, assembled the syringe with these enormous great needles. And those had to be boiled up every Saturday morning. My mum, bless her, used to do those. And then new methylated spirits, or eventually surgical spirit, went into them to sterilize them. You're probably wondering what those wires are for. Well, they were actually to keep the needles from blocking up. The needles were used time and time again until they became painful and blunt, and they were either resharpened or thrown away and new ones replaced. I can't tell you that very much changed until the NovaPen came out, and my goodness, that was an incredible change. They probably seem quite old hat now in some ways, although the new ones are fantastic, but absolutely incredible. It was a life changer for me. And I just thought I'd show you the difference between the needles of today and the needle of yesteryear. The big one was 28 millimeters long, and I think the other one is 8, something like that. So it's quite a dramatic change. I went on to an NMS5, and which I enjoyed using very much. It coupled with the Dexcom I was using, and I decided to go for the Tandem T-Slim, which I'm enjoying very much indeed. More about that later. So guesstimating blood sugar levels, and it is literally guesstimating. That's the kit we used to have to carry around, or my parents had to carry around when I was very young. Probably wondering what the jam jar is for. Well, I use that to pee into. You're supposed to do it into the lid of the container, but quite honestly, if you rinsed it out, everything got wet. And it was an absolute pain. You're probably wondering what the little lamp is below. Well, the original testing that was done, you had to test or heat the test tube over a naked flame. And out in Kenya, we didn't have a naked flame. We didn't have a gas cooker. So my dad, bless him, he manufactured that little lamp, which still works, and I've still got. So here's the recipe for urine testing. 5 drops of urine, 10 drops of water, add a tablet. It used to be powder and then boiled over the flame. But the tablet actually brought it to the boil and was very much quicker. And you'd end up with actually one of 5 colors. If you were bright orange, those are the ones you were really scared of. Your blood sugar was probably up around 25, 30. I don't know for certain. To the other extreme, the low end, blue was also considered quite dangerous because it could be anywhere from 0 millimoles per litre to 10.5. That was considered quite a dangerous area because you couldn't tell whether there was a hypo about to happen. So I was always encouraged to be in the green area, above 10.5 millimoles. Seems staggering now, doesn't it? But it's the only way to remain safe. What's more, the urine test was several hours out of date. It apparently takes 4 hours for the urine to pass through the body. And so they're quite well out of date, even longer if you go to bed and get up 8 hours later. But as I say, no warnings of imminent hypos. So everything was done by observation, which was quite challenging, particularly for parents. This happened at the same time. These test strips happened at the same time as the NovaPen. And I got them at Christmas one year, both of them together, just before Christmas. And it was the best Christmas present I've ever had. Absolutely fantastic. It took 2 minutes to do your blood test, 3 minutes if you were high as a penalty. But you had to rely on good lighting and good color coordination with your eyes. But they were so brilliant. You could have, for once in my life, I was 30 when this happened, 35, and it was the first time I could actually sit down at a restaurant table and test my blood and give myself an injection. I just couldn't do that before. So added dignity was just amazing, absolutely incredible. That was a rather vicious lancing device, quite painful. I remember it. I've still got it actually. I'm rather sad. I keep all my old gear, but rather a nasty looking device. I've had loads of different meters, lots that have been absolutely fantastic. This I'm still using. I took up Kilimanjaro, and because it's so neat and everything's strapped together, can't lose things easily. I found them fantastic. I did go onto the Freestyle Libre for a while. I enjoyed it. I found lots of good to say about it, but I'm afraid I did stick with Dexcom since 2014, and very much enjoy using their product as well. Just a few interesting photographs. This was a gun to help give injections back in the day. The one at the top was absolutely vicious. I've still got that as well. And it quite frightens me now when I pick it up. It's quite big. You pull the trigger and my goodness, it almost takes your leg off. But it's a horrible thing. I only used it as a child once, and we just put it away and forgot about it. The one underneath, which I've enlarged there, was a really neat little device, which was much kinder. It wasn't quite so vicious and horrible. It all fit, and what's more, it fitted into that container with all the gear you needed. You've got there your glass syringe in methylated, or surgical spirit it would have been. You've got spare needles. You've got water there to rinse out your syringe before you drew up the 2 doses of insulin. I was on mixed insulins at that time, and obviously room for the insulin as well. That would have been soluble 80 strength and isophane at 80 strength, not fierce, but Nova Rapid. This was quite an interesting little thing. First thing I ever had to that recorded how much insulin you'd taken and how long ago. It was a great, I quite like that. It was developed into that as well, which I never had, but some quite neat thinking, I think, about having an insulin doser, as they call it, and a meter all built into one. So we get on to looping. And I have so much admiration for the We Are Not Waiting group. They have done a fantastic job in pushing things forward and pushing manufacturers. Absolutely incredible. But I'm afraid I found the numbers rather frightening and calculations and all the rest of it. So I wimped away from it, and I decided to go for the T-Slim instead. And I must say, with the Dexcom, I'm using the G6 at the moment, and Control IQ, I find it absolutely fantastic. I've just taken a screenshot of a random week that I picked there, 83% in range, which I don't think is too bad, and quite a few highs, not too bad, but it's nice to see the lows cut out, because I did suffer a lot from hypos and hypo unawareness and things. So that was a big step forward for me. So I think it's a great machine. That has type 1 held me back? No way. I think it all stems from my parents. We lived in East Africa. When my parents left in 1962, they decided that we should drive all the way down 5,000 miles almost, the length of Africa in a family car. Goodness only knows, they sorted out the insulin and everything else. I don't know how they kept it cool, how they kept needles sharp and all the rest of it, but we did it and had a fantastic time. There's us at Victoria Falls with my sisters and my grandmother as well. It was absolutely incredible, but I think that gave me such a good boost. We were back in the UK. We climbed Snowdon quite by accident, one of the most difficult ways, and that's me on the right hand side there. I was 8 years old then. I don't think I did any urine tests on the mountain. I was just given a sweet every so often, which I thought was great, and it was all done by observation back then. So it's so much better now, so much better. It's not stopped me from taking part in motorsport. I did a fair amount of rallying back in the day, and I also did a little bit of training in the Formula Ford 1600. But the interesting thing probably there was the competition license. I had to have a very thorough medical before, or 2 very thorough medicals, because of type 1. Bear in mind, I was still taking, doing urine tests at that stage, so it was quite a thing, really. I've shown my family, my 2 sons, my 2 granddaughters, who Andrew and Chloe have given me, these 2 gorgeous granddaughters. And naturally, I was very worried about having children and passing on type 1. And touch wood, very quickly. There's no sign of it in any of them, which is a great relief. And I thought it was worth mentioning. I've been a teacher for most of my career, taught design and technology, the best subject in the school. And there's a few examples of work. But the reason I mention this was at this last school that I taught at, that some parents were raising money for a charity to support a new unit at Chertsey Hospital. And I thought, right, I'm going to get out there and do some fundraising. So I walked the South Downs Way. It's about 105 miles in 6 days, and I raised nearly 9,500 for their charity. And that's really what started my fundraising. I think JDRF got to hear about this because they actually contacted me and said, would I be interested in climbing Kilimanjaro? And my goodness, yes, I was. And we formed the largest group yet to ascend the world's highest freestanding mountain. It was fantastic, absolutely incredible. And that's 11 o'clock departure from base camp for the summit. Very, very cold. We were very worried about, you can see the worried looks on people's faces there, worried about insulin freezing, etc. But I made it there. I felt a bit groggy because my blood sugar hit 28 up there. And naturally I thought, oh, goodness me, insulin has frozen. I didn't know. But I was confident having the Dexcom to give a big correction dose. And I think I cheered when I saw double arrows on the way down. And we found that several other people had the same problem. There's the best sunrise I've ever seen. And that's the group. 19 of us took off up the mountain and 17 of us made it to the summit. And it's changed my life big time. I did another hike to mark my 60th anniversary. Went to Peru in June 2017. Oops, I shouldn't advertise Diabetes UK, but I raised money for both charities, and we got to 5,200 meters, and it was just incredible, just amazing. Yes, what? Me running? I'm afraid I don't normally run. I have an aversion to running. But a good friend of mine, Paul Coker, who I believe is on here tonight, he played an enormous part in setting up the largest number of type 1 runners to do the Swansea half marathon. I think it was 69 altogether that did it. I don't think I was quite the last, but I wasn't far off the last. But I did it the following year as well. So that's me there. Not a pretty sight. But we had these teddies. Donna Hall, she provides and sends all over the world to children with type 1 diabetes, just to form links and make friends and realize that they're not alone. And this one was passed down through all the people with type 1 diabetes, and I ended up being near the back. I was the last one to cross the finish line with it, so great honor. So just a few thoughts. This was Dr. Kenneth Robertson. I heard a lecture by him and I asked him whether I could use this. And I think it's absolutely incredible what he says here. No other condition requires such continuous effort and deep understanding from the sufferer. I don't like the word sufferer very much, but there we go. He goes on to say insulin is one of the deadliest drugs. Healthcare professionals expect patients to self-titrate or look after themselves when most healthcare professionals don't understand how to do this. It's quite hard hitting those statements. But I think it makes us realize what experts we are, and we are in charge of our own well-being and don't rely totally on them, although obviously their advice is fantastic. Personal thoughts? Well, I'm often asked that, and this is my usual reaction. If I'm feeling less polite, I feel like doing that. But my main reason for showing this was the Balance magazine. This is 1958, this one. Was the only means we had of communication and learning about things, that or your specialist, before social media. And what a fantastic part social media plays. Absolutely incredible. I certainly became very disconnected. I just muddled along in my own way, and I missed out until Kilimanjaro, and it's changed my life big time. And it's lovely to be involved and doing things and sending out positive messages. Type 1 does give back. It certainly gives back. I'd never have done Kilimanjaro without type 1, for example. But it adds all those things, I think. And actually, it has never, ever stopped me doing anything at all. Sympathy? No, not at all. I just wish that there was a much better understanding. I think type 1 is probably the most misunderstood of conditions. And it's true to say that virtually nothing changed between 1956 and 1986. But ever since then, my goodness, it's been incredible. Almost every week you get an exciting change. And the future is very exciting. Let's make sure that great progress continues. It's up to us to keep the pressure on, like the We Won't Wait group. So there we are. That's me. I've finished. I hope I haven't taken too long, and I hope it's been of interest. Thanks ever so much.
You haven't taken too long, and it's been of massive interest. Pete, thank you so much. Thank you. We will now have a video presentation from Dexcom, and we will have Paul Sheverton on to speak afterwards. Thank you very much. Thanks, Pete.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Paul. I'm delighted to be with you this evening. As you can see from the video, we're super excited here at Dexcom to be bringing not one, but two new products to the UK in the very near future. Myself and my colleague, Abigail, are here to answer as many questions as we can for you. So please do pop those into the chat and the Q&A, and we'll look forward to speaking with you there. Thank you very much.
We will now go to our third speaker of the night. And it is Tom Dean, founder of Diabeteschat on Twitter, and has had type 1 diabetes for 16 years. Tom speaks about his experience of the benefits of peer support and moving forward this year with how he manages his diabetes using flash glucose monitor and smart insulin pens. Thank you for joining us, Tom.
Thank you, Del. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully you can see my screen. All good and well. It's lovely to be here this evening, sharing such a amazing evening with all the guest speakers and the community. So thank you for having me on. So I'm going to share a little bit about me and my background and sort of my diabetes roadmap. I'm then going to talk a little bit about technology and the sort of technology I'm using now and how it's impacting on my life. And then I'll be looking at my about peer support and the benefits of peer support for me, and I'll talk a little bit about the diabetes chat as well. So a little bit about me, originally from North Wales. I was born in St Asaph, so on the border. So I haven't got the good old Welsh accent, maybe a little bit. I met my wife in Aberystwyth University. We completed our uni degree together, and in 2015 we qualified. And my wife Kat, she went on to become a nanny, and I decided to go on to do some training to become a early years teacher. And from that, we decided where we wanted to move to. My wife lived in Derbyshire, so we decided to move to Derbyshire together, find our first house together, and from there, I got my first teaching job in a special needs school, which I'm still there now. In 2018, we got married, and we're still married, so I must be doing something all right. And from there, we've had our first son, Harry, he's just ace. We love him so much, and he was born during the first lockdown a couple of years ago. About me and my diabetes. So I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes back in November 2006, and I was age 16. And if you can see above, I'm 32 now, so half my life I've been living with diabetes. So a little bit about my diabetes roadmap. So like I said, I was diagnosed back in 2006. I was losing weight. I was going to the toilet a lot. I was drinking a lot. My mum always used to say that the amount of times I'd be going from my bedroom to the kitchen to drink loads of milk and then going to the toilet and repeating that like countless times throughout the evening. And then one night she just thought, and her dad had diabetes, and it just suddenly clicked one day when she came into my bedroom and she could smell the sort of pear drop smell. So from there, we booked me an appointment, and she took me to the hospital, and there I was diagnosed with diabetes. I was originally on pens. So I was on Lantus, and I was on Nova Rapid. And then in 2015, I went on to a different insulin, Lavemir. And initially, I was on just one dose of Lavemir, but then I went on to a split dose of Lavemir, so in the morning and in the evening. And I've been on that ever since. In 2020, as you can see, I attended a DAFNE course, dose adjustment for normal eating course, and it was amazing. And it was the first time ever I actually was in a room with other people with diabetes and interacted and just kind of connected with them. It was just amazing. And then in 2022, a couple of months ago actually, in February, I had coronavirus, and I was isolating upstairs away from the family. And one day my wife put a letter under my door, opened it up, and I had the invitation to go on the Libra. And it was just, wow, it was one of them moments which just changed my life. And straight away, I rang them up with excitement. I had nothing else to do because I was in a lockdown in my room with coronavirus. And yeah, it was just amazing. And from that moment, we booked onto a little course. So I went along and met other people who were going on the Libra. And yeah, ever since I'm on the Libra now, and it just really changed my life. And from that day, they talked about insulin smart pens, and it was something that I was a bit unsure about, and I'll talk a little bit about it in a minute. And I'm now on them, and it's just, wow, I love it. And what about the future? Who knows? I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm very excited about the future. Who knows? Maybe one day I might be on an insulin pump, or who knows? But I'm really, really excited, and I'm in a good place with my diabetes. So looking at technology, so like I said, I got the letter. I went to my diabetes centre in Sheffield. I met with another 5 people who were going on Libra. And that was one of my first days that I went on the Libra. And it was just so amazing, as you can see, seeing them sort of scores come through and seeing the trends and seeing what direction you go in. And it was just fantastic. And as you can see in one of the middle photos, the 3.7, where I'm dipping into a hypo, You know what I mean? It's so amazing where you can see where you are and where you're going. And with the alarm systems, it really helps with my lifestyle as a teacher, and with such a busy life at home with my toddler and stuff. It's good to have these sort of advances that can further support my diabetes. And then good old jelly babies. So when you're in the hypo, they're my go-to sort of treatments there. And down the bottom, you can see my sort of maybe typical sort of day with diabetes, really. At the minute in school, we're doing the Very Hungry Caterpillar. So I thought that sort of picture resembled the Very Hungry Caterpillar there. And when you dip low, that's definitely me, heading in the fridge and trying to get as much food in me. So the Bluetooth smart pens, like I said, these at first, when I was told about them, I was quite unsure. Like I said, I've always had the disposable pens, and I was unsure about how I'd go about them. I was not sure how I'd cope with inserting the cartridges. I was a bit nervous, a bit apprehensive. But honestly, as soon as I kind of just did it, it was just such a relief, and I just absolutely love them. They enable me to see how many. So on the pen, let me show you. There's two types of pens. So I've got the Nova Pen Echo Plus and the Nova Pen 6. And with the Echo Plus, it enables me to do 0.5 increments. So with this, with my quick acting insulin, enables me to have that sort of availability to give 0.5 increments. And I just think that's such a game changer. Instead of rounding up or rounding down and kind of going, should I go up or down, enables me to go to that sort of 0.5 figure. What I really love about it is if you click the pen, it shows you how many insulin, how much you bolused, and it tells you when you injected. And I find this absolutely amazing because it helps me in my life to track how much I've given. And also, especially with my Lavamere, my background insulin, it shows me or helps me in moments where I go, did I inject? Because I'm sure we've all been there. Maybe put it in the chat if you've been in that sort of situation over the years. Did I inject? Do I inject now? Do I give full? Do I give half? Do I give a little? Do I wait till the morning? I'll check my levels. Okay, I'm this number. So what do I do now? And for many years, I've been in that sort of situation. And still now, I have days where I'm so busy and something's happening, or you're watching a bit of TV, or I'll do it in 5 minutes. And obviously an hour goes past and you think, did I inject? And then you go check the pen and you're able to see it. What I love about it as well, these pens, is there's an app that you can, there's many apps you can download, and you can sync it to your phone, and you can see the data live there as well. So you can see different patterns. And if you see the graphic to the right, there it is there. So for example, on the 12th of May, it's indicating to you that I've took my Lavamere at 9:05 of 18 units. I've done my air shot before that. And obviously I've eaten something there worth 5 units. So it's just a fantastic that it links up to your phone, and hopefully in the future it can connect and talk to the Libra, which I just think will be amazing having it all together. So I just want to show this quick video. So I'll show the one on the right. So this is me, obviously, and my son Harry, and I'll show it to you. Harry, do it. Wow. 7.1. That's a good number. And what I love about that is Harry is 2 years old. He's learning that Daddy has diabetes. He's very fascinated to see me injecting. He's like, "Ooh, what's that? What's he doing?" And scanning my arm. And every morning, Harry comes in my room. This is no joke. And he grabs my phone and he wants to scan my arm because he's seen me do it so many times. I just think it's just the cutest thing ever. And then when he sees the number, he's always laughing or giggling. Sometimes Daddy's not giggling if it's a high number. But yeah, it's just fantastic. And it's lovely that he's seeing what I'm doing and being part of my life with that. Peer support, wow, what can I say? So for many, many years, like I said, I've been diagnosed 16 years. And for many, many years, I lacked confidence. I was embarrassed about my diabetes. I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell many people. I didn't tell people in work, even employers, because I was just ashamed. I was worrying what people may say with diabetes stigmas and whatnot. And honestly, what changed my sort of insight to things was that letter that came through under my door when I had coronavirus. It really did, because I was just so excited that I've been waiting for this technology for many, many years. And it just built that confidence, and I was able to just feel relieved. And to me, peer support occurs when people provide knowledge, experience, social or practical help to one another. And the benefits of peer support, from my perspective, is enables you to meet other people, talk to other people from all around the world. If you're participating in online events virtually like we are tonight, which is amazing, or in-person events. I attended TED Talks talking about diabetes in London, and as you can see in the picture, after the event, we went to the pub, and it was just amazing being in the room, making new diabetes friends, talking to people who had diabetes, living the experiences that I'm going through. And it was just incredible, right? And yeah, I absolutely loved it. And what was great was, or what I love about diabetes support groups and peer support is you're not alone. There's people out there that can talk and support you and normalize things and help you categorize things and go, yeah, I understand that, because it can be quite lonely. So one night I sat in this exact room and I said to myself on Twitter, there's a functionality where you can talk Twitter Spaces, and I thought, you know what, I'll set up a little chat, see if anyone wants to come along. So I just put diabetes chat, and we'll see if anyone comes along. And I thought one person, maybe that'd be amazing. And that night we had like 100 people that came from different parts of the world: Australia, New Zealand, Europe, UK, the States. You know, it was just amazing. And we just spoke like I'm doing now, but people talking back. And it was just lovely to just chat and talk and normalize things, share experiences, ask questions. We're not medical professionals, and we advise people to go speak to their DSNs, the consultants, to get further guidance. We're here just as a support group to talk. So the diabetes chat community enables people to come along and chat and learn new things and talk about the diabetes, share their journey, like kind of what I'm doing now, really. And maybe, or what I hope is that then people feel they're not alone and they can normalize things, they can make diabetes friends, and then maybe they can connect offline and meet up and go to such events like TED Talks or the upcoming events that the amazing community engagement team are doing here at JDRF. And another feature that we do on our chat is connecting with guest speakers, and each week we have different people coming on, from healthcare professionals, sports athletes, advocates, and people who have type 1 diabetes, people who know people who've got diabetes, whether it's family or friends. So it's just a very welcome community for people to come together, share experiences, and just really connect with people. I'm really excited for the future. And in a minute, I know Chris will be talking soon about peer support, and I'm really excited for that chat as well. But yeah, please feel free to come check it out. It's diabetes_chat. You can check out that page or follow me, Welshie_89. Or what we do on the night is you can hashtag diabetes chat, and you can ask questions or whatnot, or join in the discussion. And people can also talk and request to speak as well. And we've got so many amazing people, guest speakers coming up in the next couple of weeks and months ahead. including our very own JDRF community engagement team, which will be amazing. Them coming on, talking about JDRF and talking about the technology they use and their experiences of their journeys with diabetes. So honestly, I hope that you've enjoyed a little bit of my chat, and I've been able to showcase a little bit about where I've come with my diabetes and the sort of technology I'm using, and the amazing peer support of how it's just changed my life, because I think it's amazing. And it does take time for people to connect, and that's understandable. But if you can reach out in whatever capacity, please do it, because it's just lovely. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it.
Totally enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Tom, and looking forward to linking up very soon. It's a brilliant space that you've created in Diabetes Chat, really is. So thank you. Next, we have Katie from Insulet, who will talk about the Omnipod, and then we will have a quick comfort break after that. Thank you. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you. So I'll just share my screen there. So hello everyone, my name is Katie and I'm one of the Omnipod specialists here at Insulet, and I'm going to talk to you about the Omnipod DASH system, which is a tubeless insulin delivery system. So the system is made up of two components, the pod itself, which is attached to the body, and then a handheld device called the Personal Diabetes Manager. We refer to it as a PDM for short. So these are our pods. You can see they're small and lightweight, and therefore can be worn anywhere you could inject. One of the biggest benefits is that the pod is waterproof, so you can confidently swim and bathe with no need to disconnect. The cannula goes in through an auto insertion process, where a soft, flexible cannula is inserted after the tap of a button in the Personal Diabetes Manager. The pod contains a 200-unit reservoir to hold the insulin for up to 72 hours, and each pod comes with its own syringe and needle to fill up the pod itself on the fill port at the back, which you can see on the screen indicated by the arrow. So now we're going to take a quick look at our Personal Diabetes Manager, which is a touchscreen, smartphone-like handheld device that connects to the pods via Bluetooth. This device has many features, including a bolus calculator, where you can type in your blood glucose reading and the carbohydrates, a zero basal rate for those with low insulin requirements, and the ability to set fractional insulin to carbohydrate ratios. And we've also incorporated a pod site location tracker as well, so that you can keep an eye on where you've worn the pods, as we do encourage pod site rotation. So here at Omnipod, we run a support program, and I'm part of the product specialist team specifically set up to answer all your questions about the Omnipod DASH system. So we're here for any educational support, and I would encourage you to give us a call and check out our website. We do offer free pod experience kits where you can just go to the website and order one of the free pods so that you can stick it on. They are non-functioning. It just gives you that opportunity to try it out and see it for size. And as part of our mission to ensure that you're able to make an informed choice, we do run this callback option as well, that you can register through the website. So you can either give us a call on the number or head over to the website and give us a call if you've got any questions following this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kitty.
Thanks.
Thanks. So now it's time for a comfort break. So you have about 10 minutes to make a quick cuppa and join us back here with a couple of chocolate biscuits if you're like me. We will, there'll be time too to take part in our first poll, which will pop up during the break. And on your screen, we will, what do we see? On your screen, you will see a QR code. It should be loading up any minute. And if you just open your camera, it will pop up with a link to support JDRF. Hi everyone and welcome back. We are going to show the results of the poll. It's just up on the screen for you. Hope you can all see it there. Yeah. So I just wanted to give you all time to get back on. And I just wanted to pass on over now to Claire from Medtrum, who produces Nano Pump and CGM. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Claire from Medtrum and I'm here to introduce you to the Nano Pump and CGM today. I'm just going to share my screen and bring this presentation up. Okay. So yeah, I'm Claire from Medtrum. I'm one of the local territory managers. And at Medtrum, we're passionate about trying to make diabetes a smaller part of your lives. We've just recently launched the Nano tubeless insulin pump, along with the Nano integrated CGM, which offers optional smartphone control, both of which are unique to Medtrum. So what have we got? So we've got the two systems. Both can be used independently as either a pump or a CGM. But when you use both nano systems together, that's when the magic happens and you've got the predictive low glucose suspend functionality that can kick in and help to reduce the number and the severity of hypos and effectively giving you greater peace of mind, reducing anxiety around hypos. We're also working on the hybrid closed loop. It's not here as yet, but we're hoping to be launching that next year. And all of our users of the full system would be automatically upgraded as soon as that comes. So it is future-proofed. This is the only patch pump that offers smartphone control. So you can directly actually control the pump using the smartphone. This works both across Android and iPhone. So it means there's less to carry about with you day to day. You can do everything on your phone, giving you greater freedom and greater discretion as well. Also for anybody following, you've got live updates as well. There is also a small PDM for those wanting to use a personal diabetes manager if they prefer. Whether you use the phone or the PDM, giving a bolus is as simple and as easy as writing a text message. It's very simple and easy to use system. The patch pump itself is very small, smallest on the market. It's basically made up of two components, a pump base and a reservoir patch. It's got 3-day wear. Because it's so small, there's less wastage. It's also waterproof. And it's very flexible as to where you can wear this. You can effectively wear it anywhere that you would give an injection. The factory calibrated Nano CGM has 14-day wear. It's also waterproof, very small, and it's actually basically you just charge up the transmitter. So basically, you've got all of your pump and CGM needs just from one company, all with a UK-based 24-hour technical support helpline and local support as well. So if you wanted to request a demo pump just to try on for size, see how that looks and feels, again, it's not actually a working pump, then you can request those from our website, medtrum.co.uk, and feel free to send any questions in the chat function to myself. Thank you very much.
We are now nearly ready to have our peer support presentation from our very own Chris Bright, Community Events and Partnership Lead.
Evening all. Going to be talking to you now a little bit around peer support and the impact that it has for us living with type 1 diabetes. And just to begin with, we wanted to start off by putting up a little poll to help us understand what sort of peer support you are interacting with at the moment, and if you are. So hopefully you can all see now on the screen some options to choose from. So if you could run through those as quickly as you can, and whilst doing that, can we load up my slides, please? So hopefully there's a good few options on there for you to choose from, and then I'm just going to start with my presentation now. Hello, good evening everyone. Just wanted to now discuss and demonstrate a little bit around peer support and continuing to highlight it in a positive way and reinforce its use amongst the diabetes community for those of us living with type 1 diabetes. So I just wanted to spend just a few minutes just highlighting a few things, talking over some elements of it, and also talking about the future. So at the moment, I don't know how much we define it and whether we discuss its definition and the concept behind it. So what I wanted to do with my first slide was really just to demonstrate what the definition was. And many of us will be interacting with peer support in this way. And I just wanted to ensure that, you know, even some of the day-to-day conversations that you might have, the one-to-ones or the twos and the threes that you might interact with and provide support for, it all forms part of this bigger picture of peer support for those living with type 1 diabetes. And I think highlighting that and demonstrating that it forms a part of our day-to-day is a really big part of how we continue to demonstrate its significance within management of type 1 diabetes. So I wanted to just spend a few minutes talking about that. So obviously the definition there is on the slide. So peer support is an interaction either in person or online where two or more people can share insights to a shared lived experience. And as I said, I think many of us are probably doing that on a more regular basis than we are giving ourselves credit for. But why do we do it? So we all come to peer support for different reasons. We all have different needs for the support that we might be looking out for. And that's also going to influence how we might interact on social media platforms. But the important thing to know is, just like medicine, we're sort of designed to come away feeling a little bit lighter, or in some way slightly improved in some way, or with a better idea about how we could improve in the future our experiences of life and our experiences with type 1. And I think that's what we're kind of demonstrating here with some of the bullet points that are on the screen, is that these are the reasons why we do it. And this is why it's important to us. You know, getting extra knowledge, getting extra expertise that we might not have been able to acquire before, feeling understood and feeling like there's somebody else out there that understands the experience of living with type 1. And you can just let some of those walls down, open up and feel like you belong. And that's, you know, that's not an experience that everyone can go away from in all other walks of life, in all aspects. So to have that through something like peer support in a particular condition such as type 1 is a really, really vital component of managing it. And also sort of utilising it as a space to unload feelings and talk about the condition and provide that overall aspect of support and positivity, which I think many of us will need. So it's everything from, you know, finding some inspiration from somebody else to, even when it's not a positive experience, when there is a challenging aspect of life, somebody else may have been through that and may be able to provide you some help and some comfort in dealing with what might be challenging. Peer support forms all aspects of can tackle all aspects of our lives. And it's something now that we are beginning to see the wheels of momentum get behind as a real positive and useful part of our treatment for the condition overall. And then I didn't want to highlight or push too much on how many examples of peer support there may be. I wanted to just put a few up on the screen that I've personally interacted with. So I could have put slides and slides of different peer support projects up there, but I just wanted to obviously put the ones up where I can personally suggest that I've interacted with. So, but it looks different for everyone, and it will be different by location. It will look different by interest. It will look different by purpose. And also organically, the conversation occurs using hashtags. You know, some of these icons and logos that are on the screen are going to be more towards formal groups based on, like I said, interest or location. But in some ways, the hashtag
and the way that people interact with hashtags is more of that organic conversation, which does occur in different places online. So for me, it's where you feel most comfortable and where you feel most at home and supported, where you feel that you're going to get the best and most trustworthy information from peers. You go where you feel connection. So what matters to me is obviously going to be different to somebody else, but it's important because of the benefits of peer support. We continue to encourage and grow the variability of peer support projects that are out there. With the support and understanding of what good looks like. So we continue to try and support people to make these peer support projects in their vision, but we also showcase what good looks like to ensure that for the future, good continues to occur. And, you know, it's overall just looking at trying to provide a great and trusted experience for people with type 1 diabetes. And that is what leads me on nicely to my final slide around type 1 and peer support, which is what's next. And what's next is a big project that's going on behind the scenes with the National Health Service, the NHS, which is beginning to bring stakeholders from across the NHS and leading patient charities such as JDRF and Diabetes UK, as well as leaders of peer support, not every leader, but some leaders of peer support communities within that have that lived experience within the type 1 diabetes community, to try and enhance and look towards what peer support may look like as a treatment pathway and advocated for by the NHS. So the key objective really is about maximising the potential of peer support across the country as part of the treatment for people who live with type 1. So at the moment, things are very fluid with this, but plans are for a closer link to the NHS structure, and all of it's gathering pace. And obviously, we're at the moment just trying to ensure that clinicians continue to see the benefits of peer support and continue to advocate for it more widely, as the belief is more people with type 1 diabetes should be accessing it both online and in person, as we're now seeing a real uptake and also huge benefits to people's lives that are interacting with it on a regular basis, and that's now being backed up by research as well. So it's a really exciting time to be involved in peer support, and at a time where we can hopefully see that with the impact that this could have and structure being realised, that things are really promising around peer support. And I hope that we at JDRF will be able to continue. We'll be encouraging that personally. And yeah, we're really excited about what we can do with peer support, with JDRF and our partners and other organisations invested in the diabetes community, as well as, most importantly of all, the community that we all serve and the community that will benefit from peer support.
Cool. I'm hoping now that we'll be able to launch the poll as well, the poll results. So let's have a quick look at how many people are utilising it. So hopefully you can see the results there. And this is interesting understanding for us, and hopefully interesting understanding for those of you that have joined us as well this evening. So there's a significant number still that haven't utilised peer support. So hopefully with the conversations that we're having and the movement of peer support now with structured organisations such as the NHS and other charities, this is going to be something you'll continue to see growth in the future. So back over to you, Adele.
Thanks, Chris. Brilliant talk there. It's so important to have peer support. I'm a big advocate of it, as you know. So next we have Jude, who is our senior sports event fundraiser at JDRF. And she will be talking about supporting JDRF and resources available. Thank you. Thanks, Jude.
Hi there. For those of you who are new to JDRF, welcome to the family. I'm Jude and I work as an active events fundraiser for JDRF in the north, so up in Manchester. I've worked for JDRF for 7 years and my 13-year-old twins both have type 1. So I'm going to share my screen with you. and just talk to you about 3 events. So we're back to live events after such a mad time, and we're thrilled that it's with the One Walk, our flagship fundraising event, a great opportunity for the Type 1 community to get together, have fun and raise awareness of Type 1. We've got four walks this year. The 11th of June, we're in London and St Andrews. And then on the 18th of June, we're in Manchester and Cardiff. For more information, I'll give the email address at the end. One of my favourite ever events at JDRF is the Yorkshire Three Peaks. This is our 6th year of doing it, and it can't be as hot as last year. We had 30-degree heat with no shade for 24 miles. We've got a few places remaining this year. It's fully guided and each walker is tracked, so there's no chance of sneaking off to the pub halfway around. It's on the 9th of July and it's £35. And finally, another of my firm favourites, Climb One for Type 1. We have 3 JDRF teams as we take on Ben Nevis, Scarfell Pike and Snowdon on September the 24th. It's a family event for over 8s, giving families a chance to do all 3 national peaks in 3 years if they choose. Again, it's fully guided and it's a great challenge for little legs and also for adults too. This will be the 3rd year of the event, and so far we've raised over £75,000. So maybe channel your inner Pete Davies and take on a peak. This year we plan to have the most ever people with Type 1 on all 3 peaks at the same time. We contacted Guinness World Records, but they said there was no skill involved in climbing a mountain with Type 1, but we obviously dispute that. So if you want to get in touch, email is events@jdrf.org.uk. And that was just a quick roundup of how you can get involved with us. We're always adding new events and challenges, so make sure you follow our JDRF UK Facebook page and sign up to our e-newsletter for regular updates. If you have any ideas of how you would like to raise funds for JDRF, always feel free to get in touch, and our lovely fundraising team will be there to help you along the way. So as again, it's events@jdrf.org.uk. Thank you.
Thank you, Jude. And as Jude said, there's some brilliant events coming up. So please get in touch, and all the details of how to get in touch, she just discussed there, and we can pop on the chat too. So that's the end, believe it or not. It was great. It was a great evening, and I just wanted to thank all the panelists for coming along tonight and providing such amazing content, as you will agree. Our tech partners for helping share information and products that are and can be of such great benefit to us all. And most of all, you for joining us. Thanks to every single one of you for joining and interacting and taking part in our polls and just being a great audience. If you would like any further information about JDRF, or you would like to contact us, our website and email address should be coming up on a slide towards the end. So thank you very, very much. Thank you all. That's the contacts, the email address, and our website is just included in that slide. Thank you. Thanks to everyone for joining us.